we got our outfits from New Orleans, and her nails are fire. Her hair is fire. Like, she fire right now. Like, she's just like busting right now. Like, yeah, her outfits look great with her hair. Her outfits look great with her nails. The nails is kind of New Orleans theme. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my family's from, like, my mom's side is from New Orleans. Like, I'm kind of I'm like a part of a lost tribe almost. That's how I would say about my background. Because, like, of course, I'm a black man. So, it's always the thing like, oh, you black people don't know where you come from. Well, it'll probably surprise you. I done my history online with Ancestry.com. I didn't do the DNA because, it's just going to give you percentages of what they told to tell you what the blood means. I don't believe in that. Whatever your thoughts on it is, I respect it. And nonetheless, that's your opinion. What I'm talking about is Ancestry has a database that has census data, different articles written about, like, confirmed articles written about people. They use that to, like, match up where this person could have lived. They got profile on people, like, added information from different family members on those people. And my family tree goes back far enough to where I know that the areas where my family lived and the time periods around those areas, my people were not only free during slavery, but they owned land during slavery. You gotta know your history. You gotta know your history, and you can't have it always be taught by somebody else. You have to be self-taught in a lot of stuff. I'm not saying come up with just stuff just out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying have an idea and just theorize off of that and then act as if it's fact either. But if you have irrefutable fact, if you look up the date of the Trail of Tears, if you look up the date of the slave trade in mainland America, and when the first slaves made it to mainland America, and when the total number of slaves made it to mainland America. What I mean by mainland America is America, but not the Bahamas, the West Indies, and all of that. They came to Plymouth Rock. They came a lot to North Carolina and the Carolinas, mostly because Florida was still Spanish territory at the time, and Louisiana up was eventually French territory, and then it became American territory when they pretty much stole the land from the French. When the Americans stole the land from the French. The land had inhabitants already. Okay? The land had different type of inhabitants already. There were a set of inhabitants in the Ohio, like the Miami Valley, the Miami River from the Great Lakes all the way down that connects to the Mississippi River. Mississippi River gets a lot of its water from the Great Lakes, and it pours out into the ocean. That's very important. It's just like Africa. When you think about ancient Africa and stuff like that, nothing went anywhere without the Nile River, the Tigris, the Euphrates. Right? Boom. Where was the most growth in between those two, the Tigris and the Euphrates? I think that's what called the Fertile Crescent or something like that. I'm not really sure. Don't I could be mixing a couple things up. I'm pretty sure I am. But anyways, I know the land between two lakes is the best land. So if you got the Miami River and the Mississippi River, and then you got the lakes up here and the ocean down here, those areas right there are going to be the greatest to like live in. So of course, the inhabitants of America before the Europeans came over and found it were mainly in this area. Of course, that's not the only area they were in, because there's a lot of, the Great Lakes has another river, the same river that the oil had spilled in like Pennsylvania through the Appalachian Mountains. It was like that, the toxic stuff has spilled in there, and like that's one of the rivers that connect to the Mississippi from the Great Lakes. It's another one. It goes through like the Appalachian. There's river systems in the Appalachian Mountains, and the Appalachian Mountains not only have the like different height advantages for war, for building a home, like, you know what I mean, if you know a territory very well and a nomadic tribe or a group of people come through the area, you're going to have an advantage over them because you know the area, and it's a lot of like different depth. So if they make a wrong move, you might know that this ground over here is weak, so you can like make them chase you through that ground, and you know how to move through it. They don't, they fall. Like, you know what I mean? It's just different stuff that you have an advantage over. So the Appalachian Mountain would be a very good place to start living first before anybody else. Like, you know what I mean? It'd be a difficult place to get into, not knowing if anybody lives there or not, because somebody might live there before you. If somebody gets there before you, you're pretty cooked. Anyways, a large group of, so like the Iroquois and stuff like that were more northern in these areas that have rivers coming down from the Great Lakes, over by like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Kentucky, the Virginias, stuff like that. Boom. And then they had another group of people that was like all of that around the Great Lakes was like that. I don't know. I think it was like the Iroquois Confederacy, something like that. All around the Great Lakes down. You know what I mean? And those people's skin color looked like my people's skin color. Those are not my people. They were a little bit lighter skinned. Okay? It only makes sense that they're a little bit lighter skinned because they're more northern. They're more northern. They're more away from the equator. You know, they don't need as much melanin, and they kind of need less melanin for the snow. The light receptacles with the snow. I don't know how it works, but over a course of years, it eventually becomes this because of the snow and the light, and to be able to blend and be able to not have, like, you know what I mean? The sun comes and you need to be able to absorb it when the sun's out, when the sun's hot. Boom. But if it's a lot of snow, it's too much light. Like, I don't really understand it. But anyways, whatever the case may be, boom. I don't understand how the color changes, but I know it does. Anyway, those were like what a light-skinned black person looks like today. Not a light-skinned black person that's like has a white mom and a black dad, but one that has a mixed mom and a black dad. Like just a lighter skinned black person. Like my nephew Malcolm, or even my girlfriend. Like, they're not high yellow, but they're lighter skinned. You know what I mean? They're not really brown. They're not dark skinned. They're lighter skinned. But they not light skinned. Like, they're not like Meghan Markle light skinned, or Lotto light skinned. They're not Ice Spice light skinned, but they're like XX Tentacion light skin. Perfect example. Now there's another set of inhabitants of this land that were more southern by the Gulf, by the other large portion of water that also has rivers going to it. You can't drink ocean water, and lake water. Lake is too dangerous a lot of time. It's like, I mean, it's better than the ocean water, but it's still very dirty. Like, you know what I mean? You want to have a filtering system. You rather drink from a river. So boom, you have the river, and then you have the Gulf. And not only do you have the river and the Gulf, but you're closer to the equator, so you have a lot of biodiversity. A lot more animals can be in this area, so there's a lot more chances for food. A lot of vegetation grows in this area, so there's more chances for food, shelter, and protection. Like, you know what I mean? There's different stuff that you can do, like, you know what I mean? So there's more people in the South. Just clearly, before the Europeans came over, there was people in the South along the Mississippi River by the Gulf, and there were people in the North along the Mississippi River, Miami River, and the other rivers that lead back up to the lakes that all funnel into the Mississippi River that goes down into the Gulf. Okay? From Chicago to Detroit to Cleveland to Pennsylvania, all the way down through the Miami Valley, all the way down through Kentucky, all the way through the Appalachian Mountains, back into the Mississippi River, all the way down to the Gulf. Right? Check the dates of the Louisiana Purchase. Check the dates of the Trail of Tears. All right? Ask yourself. Oh, check diary entries of the Europeans who came into the area of Louisiana, Mississippi. So by common sense, the people in Louisiana, the native inhabitants of Louisiana, would most likely look like the native inhabitants of Georgia. Being that these two states are very close in a lot of different ways, especially the southern part of it. The Indian tribe, these same tribes, the Chickasaw, the Chata, the Seminole, the Yamasee, the Muskegon tribes, who all spoke a common Muskegon language. They could all speak to each other. All were the same type of people. They all were very close to the equator. Okay? What these people look like? Well, what these people look like? What these people look like? So, you can go in diary entries and then ask them what they look like. They said their skin had bronze. They had coarse hair, thick hair, skin of bronze, coarse hair, skin of bronze. And these people were in Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia. Okay. Now back to the slavery. See, I like the way this conversation is transitioned, because this is something that I'm passionate about. Now go back to the slavery. Google how many people. So we know 4 million or so. It was like 4.4 million slaves were traded in the Atlantic slave trade. Whatever the millions is, right? Google how many came to mainland United States at that time, the 13 colonies, right? Georgia, Virginia, Carolinas, all up to New York and all of whatever, right? Cool. Google how many of the 13 colonies. Google how many of the 13 colonies got slaves and how many each state got. Okay? I want you to focus on 5 states, right? Because these slaves weren't only bought by the English territories, they was bought by the Spanish too. Boom. I want you to check Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. Okay? So what you're gonna see is around 4 million slaves who made it across the slave trade, not the ones who died, the ones who made it. Because we the ones, I know they're not accounting for the ones who died. They account for the ones who made it. 4 million of them, of the probably 40 million that died, 4 million of them made it. Only 440,000 of those slaves made it to the mainland United States. Millions of them went to the West Indies, Haiti, Jamaica, everywhere like that. 400,000 came to mainland United States. Now I want to let you just sit with that. Think about how many black people are in America, mainland America, not Jamaica, not the Bahamas, not Haiti. Think about how many black people are in America versus how many people is out there. Is it 10 times more of them than us? Or do you think it's more so like 10 times more of us than them? Okay. Now go back. Now stop. Now I want you to think about it again. Do we look like them? A lot of them, yeah. A lot of them, yeah. Go check which islands had their population completely eradicated by the whites when they brought diseases. Okay? Now I want you to see which. Okay, so boom. Now I want you to ask yourself which now I want you to ask yourself which one of them didn't have their populations destroyed. What you're going to find is the certain countries that did have their population destroyed and got replaced have very African roots. The ones who had half and half, they have countries where there's a separation on the island. And there's a group of people that look like this and a group of people that look like this. They cultures are very similar because they're mixed in with each other. But their languages are going to be different because their history is different and where they come from is different. Their spirituality is going to be completely different. Yes, this is like countries like the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Bahamas, Jamaica, all of these different things, all of these different places. That's a lot of them. You know, it's all of them, honestly. All of the islands. They all have differences because it depends on who conquered, where they get the people from, how many inhabitants were already there, and you know what I mean, what spirituality they brought over. And you know what I mean? Just think about it for a second. They're different. There's differences in all of us. But you're not going to tell me there's 10 times more of them than us. Okay? No, I'm gonna keep you there, right? Of the 400,000 slaves that came to mainland America, only 80,000 of them came to these 4 states combined, these 5 states combined: Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. If you sit here and ask me, hey, where did slavery? What do you think the top 3 states that slavery took place in? What are you going to tell me? You're going to tell me Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, or Louisiana. You might tell me it's Carolina, because the true answer is the Carolinas. That's where it was all going down at. It was in the Carolinas. So 80,000 of them went to these states. So let's just say 20K a piece. It wasn't. It was really more so Georgia than anything. It was a lot. It wasn't a lot of slavery in Louisiana or Mississippi in the first part. And now let me tell you this. Well, how many of the census people, when they did sign this, when they did start making the native inhabitants take census, even then a lot of them didn't want to do it. The ones who did, let them Google how many of them lived in these states. Millions of these inhabitants were in these states, own land in these states, own plantations and everything. Now at this point, when slavery come around, they were now assimilated within. They like, all right, like we already was farming these crops. That's how y'all know about them. Now y'all coming over here, and now y'all was like big time farming it. So like we on board, obviously. So obviously, like y'all making some money. We about to make some money as our crops. Like, you know what I mean? Then they're like, hey, yeah, we got these slaves, they can do this work for y'all. So like the tribes, the Muskegon tribes in the South, the Iroquois Confederacy, they weren't with the slavery stuff. They fought. Even within each other, they fought. They was warriors. They fought. The people of Ohio, the people of Illinois, the Midwest people, they fought. That's how they still are today. They fight for life and death. Like, they fight for life and death. Well, you see Chicago, St. Louis, Dayton, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, all of them, like, you see them in the middle of nowhere, you think there's nothing. But then, like, you go there and it's, oh, these people don't care. They're fighting. Like, you know what I mean? And then you go to the South, you know what I mean, where it's supposed to be more dangerous. I'm not saying it's not, but it's a lot more spirituality. It's a lot more broken spirits or high-spirited people. Like, you know what I mean? It's a lot to do with the spirituality in the South. They grew in the South, it grew off of love. Like, you know what I mean? That's why they was able to take the South over with religion. Because we was able to connect with that, because we were very religious. Because in the South, it's so much earth and living with earth that you fall in love with the earth. Imagine living in the swamp back then. All these big trees and big everything, like, you know what I mean? You got abundance of fruit, an abundance of animals, you know, all the animals. Like, this ain't the scary swamp now where, like, you know what I mean, you might get caught by a crocodile or something like that. This is where they knew, and like the crocodiles and them lived in like tune with one another. Even now, if you go in the swamp, like if you get scared of a crocodile and run away, it's probably gonna try to chase you. But like if you like, they call them swamp puppies, the alligators. Like, they call them swamp puppies. Like, they be going up by them and everything. Like, the real in the swamp people, they don't care about them. Like, you know what I mean? But anyways, yeah. That's why you see in the South, it's like very musical. Jazz came from it. A lot of good arts come from it. A lot of good musicians come from the South. Atlanta, Louisiana. They have a way with words, poetry. My grandfather came from Louisiana, and he had a jazz band from Louisiana. And little old day, and then just had a white girl fall in love with him, man. But that was my grandma. Like, literally. That's my life. And so I'm about to go to New Orleans, and I'm about to be able to feel that side of myself. Yeah, I was able to take my family history back all the way until I'm able to tell myself that, okay, around these time periods, the history starts coming in. And then when I look back on it, this is around a time period that like the natives started to do census and stuff like that. But like, the term black wasn't invented yet. Like, you know what I mean? And black means Indian too. It's just the skin color. They lumped us in with the enslaved Africans. Listen, the Iroquois fought each other. The South loved each other. They fought too. But okay, in the Iroquois, you get caught without your team, they probably gonna kill you. And in the Muskegon tribe, if you get caught without your team, they capture you. It's a difference. When they capture you back in camp, they get all the info they can out of you or whatever, and they might lock you up for a little bit. But after that, they're assimilating you in their tribe. You're about to have a job, like they about to feed you. You're about to have a job. You're about to have a role in the society and everything. The same thing they did with the slaves. Okay, y'all look kind of more so like us than these other people, but y'all are a little bit like, you know what I mean, like bad off right now. Y'all just got off a slave trip. Y'all all look unhealthy. Y'all all broken right now. Like, y'all just went through some stuff. Like, we are not the same people. Y'all broken right now. But little did we know is we were the next to be broken because the Trail of Tears, and they forced all the Indians off of their tribe lands, and they relocated them all in Oklahoma. Now, see, but what they did was they didn't take them up through Texas. Obviously, they said they couldn't because it wasn't their territory or whatever the case may be. I don't know why they said they couldn't. Maybe it was dry or whatever the case may be. They took them through the mountains. They took them through the mountains. They took them through the mountains of Tennessee. They chained them up one by one by one. They chained them up all. If one person fell, his body weight gonna take the next person. His body weight falling off is at least gonna trip the next person. The next person's gonna slip off. Now it's two body weights, so the third person's probably gonna fall. By that time the third person's fall, nobody has a chance. Only thing they can do at this point is one person can see everybody in back of him falling, and he can hurry up and try to cut his chain. I don't know if y'all remember the Last of the Mohegans, or I don't know if it was that or something like that, but it was about the Trail of Tears, and it was like fighting off, and I think it was that. But listen, man, those people was black, bro. There's no ifs and buts about it. The Muskegon tribe were depicted to be just like me, and I'm black. So what do you, I mean? We black people have such an affinity for this land. It don't make no sense. We're so much different than Africans. There's no way you can tell me we came over in 17th. We came over here and whatever what's this 1642, somebody sailed the ocean blue, whatever. I don't know, okay, what year it was. But you can't tell me in 400 years you took us from Africa, from our cousins in Africa. 400 years. Let's just say generations is 20 years, but a lifetime is, let's say, 80 years. Let's say 60 years. 400 years is 7. So my grandmother's grandmother had somebody in her life that she knew. My grandmother's grandmother knew somebody. Her grandmother was, I don't know, something like that. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's not really that far away. It's not that far away. You gonna tell me that African Americans and Africans differ this much? I know they have set ways of doing stuff. Like, they do music like we do music. They do sports like we do sports and stuff like that. We got different opportunities. Bro, there's clear differences in our looks, in our like, listen, there is people in Haiti that look just like Africans. Beautiful. Like, you know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with looking like an African. I'm just saying, but there's people in Haiti that look like Africans. There's people in Jamaica that look like us. There's people in America that are American that look like Africans. Most of the black Americans look alike. They don't look like any Africans. Some people in America look like Eritreans. Some people in America look like Ethiopians. Some people in America look like Ghanaians. Some people in America look like whatever way you can think about it. But most of the black people in America look alike and don't look like anybody in Africa. Is Africa the only place with black people on it? No. Natives of Australians are black. Natives of all the countries are black. Natives of Brazil are black. Natives of Mexico are black. First Cowboy, black. Jazz, black. I'm not saying black rules everything, like, you know what I mean, but I'm not gonna say here I'm not trying to act like I'm superior or anything, but I just, like, you know what I mean, when people be like, oh, black people don't know their history, but it's just like, okay, if you can go off of just facts, like, you know what I mean, it makes sense. Of course, we don't know our history. We can only base off of what we know, and so far what I know is my people was, and then I went to Calhoun, Mississippi, where my father's from, and we have landmarks named after us. My last name is in everywhere. And I trace mine back to so far back. And we had land at this point. And it's just like, okay, where we get this land from? We've been had that. And then you look at the land, oh, that was this tribe's land up until the Trail of Tears. And it's like, okay, wait. But there were slaves there. And it's like, okay, but yeah, but it was only like a few thousand slaves in Mississippi. And the people that was slaves assimilated into the culture, and it was millions of Chickasaw people there. So it's like, oh, it was Chickasaw people there, millions of them, and let's just say 15,000 Africans assimilated into the country. These people aren't Africans. These people are clearly Chickasaws. Like, even if back then an African woman, right, had a baby with a Chickasaw man, that baby is a Chickasaw baby with roots from Africa. And that baby have a baby with a Chickasaw. That baby is still Chickasaw. Why? Because it's half Chickasaw and it's born in Chickasaw. So that baby's Chickasaw. And there's not a lot of Africans. There's more Chickasaw. So most likely when it has another baby, I'm pretty sure it was the ones that kept with the African, maybe hit the Chickasaw maybe a couple times, but stayed with mostly Africans. Like, you know what I mean? But eventually there's not going to be any more pure blood Africans in the mix. If they truly assimilate, yeah, they probably arrange marriages. Like, you know what I mean? Who knows? Like, you know what I mean? But overall, if there's 20,000 in these 5 states, if there's around 16,000 per, because if it was 80,000 overall with 5 states, that's 16,000 per state. If there's around 16,000 slaves and millions of indigenous people already that are black in this country, then what are we saying we're slaves for? What are we saying we were slaves for? Yeah, cool. A lot of people did flee up north. That's cool. I'm not saying they didn't. But guess what? A lot of them flee and went west and made it over into the natives and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah. So I'm going to New Orleans. Visit a side of me I never met. Like, you know what I mean? I do feel the spiritualness of both of my and both sides of my ancestral blood in me. I am a very loving person. I'm very spiritual. I'm in tune with music, dance, stuff like that. Very creative and stuff like that. And I'm not really a super fighter. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not. Like, you know what I mean? Fighting is cool and stuff like that. Like, I could be good at it and stuff like that. And I'm calm during it all. But, you know, like, just to be honest with you, like, you know, most of the time, unless it's endangering me or my family, I'm choosing to have a civil conversation to resolve any issues if we got to. If we gotta fight, we gotta fight. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not ducking it, but at the same time, like, I'd rather not. I'd rather talk like humans. But, you know, and that just goes to show you that I do believe I align perfectly with the Muskegon tribe's values, even animism. But on that note, I'm out of here. I got the content that I needed. I'm about to upload this. Hopefully y'all can jump in my conversation that I had about the Black Americans being from America initially, with the slave numbers. Anybody got any historical context for that? Maybe we can have a little debate in the comments. But all right, I'm about to go in here, edit this video, upload it, and go to bed. I have work in the morning. I gotta be up at 10:30. So I gotta do another video in the morning before I go to work for y'all. Yep. I'm out of here. Gotta stay consistent, boys.